Aqua Laguna is on its way. Robin is accused of murder, but we still haven't seen her. Iceberg comes out of his coma. Frankie's the man in tights. My God!
One Piece, Chapter 335, Warning.
Holy hell in a handbasket. Boy, this is really heating up. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and excellent and water-filled tale of One Piece. God, I think I spit all over myself. It's terrible. Our last chapter, of course, saw us with really the end of it coming that Frankie had gotten back from the sea train and saw the decimation of his house and his family, you know, within it, I guess. So I don't even know if this is just, I don't even know if it's like really a family or if it's just a bunch of like minions or something. I'm not really sure. Nonetheless, though, you know that shit's about to hit the fan, or at least fairly soon, because he knows who it is that caused these, this problem. So that's how the chapter left off. That's how this one picks up. And there's a number of cool things going on in this chapter over here, okay? First and foremost, we've got Frankie. And Frankie, of course, is like, man, you know, this must have been them, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes and he sees the decimation, and he sees that just some of the guys still knocked out and unconscious and what have you, maybe dead, I don't know. And then some of his little minions wind up coming back, and I think he actually refers to them as minions at one point. It reminds me of, like, Despicable Me, you know. Anyway, the little yellow guys. And Gru, you know, who's always talking like this. But so he goes and finds out, you know, what happened. And they're like, oh, it was the Straw Hats, this and that. But we've been keeping tabs on him, you know. We can't beat him because we're little butt fuckers. But we were waiting for you to get back so you could take him out, you know. So, and Frankie is with, it appears like two females as well. So, anyways, so we know that shit's going to hit the fan pretty soon. We know that now, obviously, they know the location of where the Straw Hats are. So, the one of the big things, though, that happen, and this is the type of stuff that I like, the ambient background stuff that happens that changes the whole playing field. This is the important stuff that people take for granted when they go and they read a story like this that's so intricately woven. It's layers. It's when you have layers of things. You don't just have what's going on with the Straw Hats and this. You've got the Straw Hats and the Frankie family. You've got Luffy and Usopp. You've got Iceberg and a coma. You've got Water 7, the city itself. You've got the thing with the we've got to get rid of our old ship, get a new ship. You have all these different cool plot threads dangling, but he's given you just enough of a bite, a little taste of each one. Every chapter or two, so you feel like you're getting a little bit of it. It's digestible amounts of information. It's just wonderful. But anyway, the thing that I was talking about is the background, the ambient thing that was happening is they wind up finding out at the train switching station that, you know, there's crazy waves coming in, a big southern wind and everything, and that granny winds up saying, oh, okay, we gotta get back to the island, get back to Water 7. Aqua Laguna's coming. No train's gonna be running today. So then we go and we find out as the Straw Hats are walking around the city and they start going and calling out over the loudspeakers everybody to stop, you know, working, what they're doing, and start to get prepared. Aqua Laguna will be coming. So they wind up grabbing somebody, you know, a civilian, I guess, in the city, and ask, you know, Nami and Luffy does, and he explains, like, oh, Aqua Laguna, man, oh, don't worry, it's not going to hit right now, but you better get to someplace high, because this place is going to be underwater. So it's high tide, and I guess this happens like once a year, and they're saying that it's going to happen at, you know, half past midnight, around 12:30 tonight. But like it literally like puts the city underwater for I don't know what period of time, an hour, a day, a week. I'm not really sure, you know. So you've got that whole plot going on right there now, because now you've got everybody that is, of course, like the Straw Hats that are visitors that don't know these things are going to have to be scrambling around and have to try to figure out how to go and get to a higher up place before this happens. Some of the Straw Hats that were left back or around the town, right? They don't even know about this, you know. Nonetheless, though, like I said, it's kind of it actually is. It's a very neat thing. It's almost its own background character that serves its own purpose, you know, with what's happening. So I like that. Then we go and we get a little bit of insight as well into what happened as far as Luffy and Nami wind up getting to Dock 1, and they want to get in. They're talking to some of the reporters, and they're like, there's no way you can get in there, because they want to get to Iceberg's office, see what the word is. Luffy needs to talk to him, he says, right? Now, Iceberg, if you remember, was obviously shot. He's in a coma. And it was funny, too, because I wound up saying in the last chapter, and I swear to you, I don't ever read ahead on these things. I don't even look ahead at the next page before I record the review. And I said my initial thought when I read that was because he had such interest in the wanted poster that maybe Nico Robin was the one, right? We'll get to that in a second. But anyway, they find out he winds up waking up from his coma, right? And, of course, everybody's around, all of his people, you know, Khalifa and Lulu and all them and everything, they're around. And they're like, it's still under investigation and this and that. And he's just like, he goes, no, I know who it, I know who it was, right? And this is actually how the chapter ends, and I have to go back and talk about a part with Frankie that I forgot about. But he winds up going, and he says the chapter ends with him going, saying there's two people. One of them was a bigger person with a mask, who I'm thinking like Frankie, but Frankie just got back on the sea train this morning. Well, maybe he didn't. Maybe there's a little smoke and mirrors. Maybe he had an alibi over on this other island, but he's the only big dude I know right now with a mask. Anyway, whatever. And then the other person, he says, I'll never forget, tall, woman, super hot, big breasts. He didn't say that, but, the distinct look in her eyes and everything like that. That piercing look in her eyes and the raven hair and everything like that. It was Nico Robin. So they wind up dropping that on us at the end of it. But you know what, though? I think that's too obvious now. I think it's too obvious, and I don't know that it was Nico Robin. Maybe it was somebody impersonating Nico Robin, because why would they just give you the answer? This isn't Columbo, They don't give you the murderer and then go and take and backtrack and have you try to figure out who it is, Maybe they do. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, Luffy and Nami, as they're out there, all of a sudden they wind up, you wind up seeing a shadowy figure and this and that, and he starts talking about it, who wants to this and that, and everybody dancing, everybody's like, boo, go away! And apparently they don't like this dude, so I'm not the only dude that doesn't like this Frankie guy, because we find out very shortly after that this is Frankie, and he's come there to challenge Luffy, But he starts it out almost like it's some kind of like some kind of dance show, like he's part of some kind of boy band or something like that. And then they even go and they formally introduce him, and we actually see this guy, Frankie. And now I'm putting two and two together, because I never knew the name of the character, but in my journey of One Piece over here, and finding pictures when I used to make thumbnails and everything else, I remember coming across a character that was standing with the Straw Hats, and he looked like he was head and shoulders taller, and he had this big blue, like almost like a pompadour Elvis type wave. And I remember he was wearing like a Hawaiian shirt and like Speedo tights, like a pro wrestler, right? And I remember thinking in my mind, how goofy is that, right? Just because of the costume. So maybe this is the dude. Maybe this is why everybody's getting on me about the Frankie shit. Maybe this is the dude that joins the crew, the Straw Hats, or maybe even temporarily. Maybe he replaces Usopp for the time being. I don't know. Nonetheless, though, before we get to any of that type of stuff, he goes and he wants to go toe-to-toe with Luffy. Once Luffy goes and finds out that it's Frankie, because now he points it out, Luffy's like, yeah, come on, boy. You get at me. I'm here. I'm Luffy, right? And then they go and they show him, and he's flanked on either side by his two dancers over here. Let me show you as he picture of them. His two Kiwi left and Mozu right. Mozu. Franky Family Square Sisters. And then we're actually introduced to Frankie himself. And there he is, Mr. Speedo himself. And it's kind of funny because Luffy says something like that. Who is that weirdo? And then when he goes and he says, he goes, hey, Speedo guy. And he's like, huh? I'm Luffy. And I just love that. He's just kind of like, I'm Luffy. Get at me, Frank. I thought that was pretty cool, actually. And then, of course, it goes into that last couple of pages where, Khalifa and all them are around Mayor Iceberg, Mr. Iceberg, and he wakes up and then, of course, tells us that it was Nico Robin. I think that's too obvious, so I'm going to discount that for right now until I read some more chapters ahead. But, you better believe I'm going to dive into the next one, because I'm feeling like it's going to be Luffy and Frankie going toe-to-toe. And I want to see what this dude Frankie has to offer. So, and I don't want any spoilers either. I'm going to presume that this is a person that either temporarily or permanently joins the Straw Hats. If he does, he does. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Whatever. Not a big deal. My chapter question for you, though, brothers and sisters, is really, I guess, what are your thoughts on what I was explaining with the Aqua Laguna? It may seem like a small thing right now, but to me, having all these different cool plot lines dangling, and then having the actual area that you're in, and they did that in Alabasta too, with some of the different storms and things like that were coming up, Skypiea, and obviously, the terrain itself, falling through the clouds, shit like that, was very, very cool, and I thought very descriptive, very inventive, and I thought it added some character and some background depth to the actual, to the actual backdrop, to the location, to the setting that they were in. So let me know what your thoughts are on not just the location of Water 7, but obviously with this Aqua Laguna, this impending, high tide coming. All I can think of is like, just like a huge hurricane coming through, and just completely, putting an island underwater. Pretty crazy, man. And then to know that this happens annually, that's pretty nuts. But nonetheless, so I'd like to know what your thoughts are on that. And then, of course, too, I guess on the actual, formal introduction of this Frankie guy, just kind of his look and everything else. I kind of find it a little bit, it makes me smile. Just seeing this big dude, this big upper body, and his little Speedo, and he's got this Hawaiian shirt on, and he's got this big pompadour, Nonetheless, I think it's very cool. And let me know what your answers to those questions are in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you
in the next one, nation. She's just so pretty. She doesn't look like she would hurt anybody. Anyway, remember to follow me over on Twitter and Facebook and even my other channel.